Alex Answer here. We are going to take a look at the community listening session in Portland, Oregon that took place on February 21st in the year 2019. I want people to exit their left right paradigms if they're already in one as they get ready to watch this because, there's really a lot of wild behavior that we're seeing on all different sides of the human species. This was also something that took place right around the time of a geomagnetic storm and right around the time of the peak of the full moon, the supermoon. Now, I'm not deep into astrology. I more or less have a deeper interest in the sun, how it affects human consciousness, but that is somewhat connected to astrology. But I feel just a lot of really powerful energies within myself, a sense of moving things in my life forward, no matter what, no holding back, working to do the highest good, working to help people evolve beyond the illusions of separation, whatever that means. So that's rising above racism, classism, and even using religions to basically shake the big book over other people with different views of the battle in good and evil. And so, being that I speak out against a lot of different programs, I do feel a lot of that energy backlash because I'm trying to wake people up. What I want people to see on one level is not just something from a negative perspective, but also when people are getting it, because I do think that there is an element of the collective shift in consciousness that isn't talked about. And so there's elements of corruption, systemic corruption, that includes law enforcement, the military, the government, that people used to talk about. Then we were kind of directed away from it. No, 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 no. Do not be directed away from investigating the systems of power. Now, there are some people out there that don't investigate things like that. They think they do. They think it's just about a deep state. And it's easier for them to, point their finger at Wheeler from one angle and say that he's anti-FA, and then to label all Portlanders anti-FA, the people that are in this room, which is just ridiculous for people to be labeling people these boxes. That's horrible. That's pretty sick, actually. So you can see that there's elderly in here, people that aren't wearing a mask. There are people here that are obviously mostly identified with anti-FA, and we can see that their behavior in the church is not exactly as mannerful as it could have been. And I want those of you to understand why I'm an independent. I want you to understand why I left Portland. Some of you might be thinking, if you don't know any better, hey, Portland seems to be a place that's ripe for these movements moving forward on one level. On one level. On another level, the basic human respect between each other seems to be missing. Now, we see some more diversity with Black men born in the United States being represented, being involved in this process, the moderation. But you also have to ask yourselves, right? As people do move up in the world, are they also used as cover while their employers, while the people that are actually running the city, hide behind a desk? Now, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind how, it's important that people are represented in society. It's also important that we pay attention to when it's also the same system as usual. And you hear the sentiment come up because they have not only the Black council woman, but also a Black police chief. The problem is, the Black police chief from Oakland has allowed certain things within the Portland Police Department that is run by the Mark Krugers of the world. Now, any of you that have a deep interest in the real going-ons in Portland and the Portland police, if you Google people like Mark Kruger and others, you'll realize that certain cities put on a certain facade to make it more popular for people to move into and to hold up a certain image. When you look at some of the police commanders and their crimes, including against people of color, right? If they're supposedly making a stand against certain things and pointing the finger at certain groups, even if it's a popular enemy of the day, right? Like Patriot Prayer and Proud Boys, and there are some things to be discussed, you need to ask yourself, are they just doing that because they're trying to point over there in that direction? And so as we get ready to play this, understand what's really taking place within the United States right now as we know it. Understand what's taking place, and that there are people that don't know about systemic corruption within the local police department and the local city. Somebody can look from across the world and just hear that Portland's a sanctuary city and literally view it in almost like some sort of a textbook manner that they've been taught by Fox News, without actually knowing that there's another level of corruption that they may be covering for. So certain cities may rush to demonize certain groups and ways of thinking that should be demonized, but the question is, why are they actually doing it? Same thing with CNN. CNN will actually cover certain things that I'm not allowed to talk about. Case in point, really speaking out against racism against all people. YouTube will demonetize 5 videos of mine in a single day while trying to point me in the direction of Young Turks and CNN. So I just sit there like a consumer watching them instead of being a content creator. Those of you that are my audience need to understand the formula that they're actually using to hold down our true progressive movement forward. I made a podcast earlier also trying to help people that aren't radicalized, also people of color, understand why the far right extremists are beating us on one level. And when I speak out against the 777, I'm not speaking against religious folks that truly believe in God. I'm speaking out against the radical extremists that use certain numbers as good luck for the wicked things that they do around the world. And there are certain people that hold on to certain symbols and sigils. I stand against the silence of nearly a planet that's silent about people being persecuted. And I will continue to do that. And I wish more people understood why I feel the way that I feel. I pray for a day, ladies and gentlemen, where a man like me, maybe 1 year from now, is not living totally alone because of the good deeds that he's done. I'm going to try to create a more positive reality for myself before the world blows up. Let us begin now our session, and I'm going to be jumping around here.
Good evening.
This is 2 hours.
I just want to remind folks that if you want to speak, if you want a chance to speak, to ask questions,
I will begin to eat my top ramen here as we watch.
And offer solutions, please.
And so they want a solution-oriented response from the audience regarding the text messages between a far right leader and a Portland police officer. Okay, and there's a lot of people that say there's nothing wrong with these text messages. There's actually a big revelation going on around the nation of elements of the far right from Charlottesville to Portland working with law enforcement. And in Charlottesville, there was some pretty crazy things that were allowed to take place. One man even pulled out a gun and fired a shot in front of police. There's other situations where Tiny has hit multiple people and the police have done nothing. So people that are busy, right, with other things on the internet need to understand that there are real life psyops that actually are taking place in the streets, where we have elements of the system working with those elements. And the people in the crowd want to know, how could all of this happen under Outlaw's watch? An African American police chief, unless she's being used by the people that really run the city. And people are begging her to bring real change. And people watching this from a distance don't really realize that Outlaw is being used as a tool. And there's a lot of people praying that the newly elected African American councilwoman, Joanne Hardesty, make some positive change, because Hardesty does not seem very impressed with Outlaw and her performance. And Hardesty campaigned on Portland ending the JTTF, and so far she has been able to do that. That doesn't mean that we are out of the woods. That doesn't mean that the federal government won't retaliate against the people of Portland and manufacture a event. Are you catching my drift? And the left has failed to stop the far right by judging people like me that talk about events being manufactured. There actually has to be some healing between us. I mean, we have to literally go back to the Bush administration to have this healing, also with Obama. When we criticize and don't buy into certain politicians, it doesn't mean that we dislike them because of their heritage or ethnicity. I never got on board any of the fake lies about Obama. It was all about the system as usual. And even in some cases, making it look like a black guy did it, which is racism, which is a form of white supremacy. When Obama is a puppet of the New World Order, and they did exactly what I said they would do in 2009. Make it like Obama did it or did XYZ. When Obama was just representing the same system that still has control today. So let's watch this. It's not so much just what they're talking about. It's the way in which people conduct themselves and work against themselves, and how evil forces within the crowd act to disrupt and turn what could be a dialogue and sharing into something that goes in a negative direction. How me speaking about it that way will draw, unfortunately, the ire from the left and the right, When I'm as a human speaking to you as a human, you're not left, you're not right, you're a human that is either against slavery or in support of slavery. There are some people that think that they are patriots in support of freedom when they actually may be in support of slavery. There may be others that believe that they are also, all about freedom and ability to choose, unless, of course, they feel that it's time to take over the streets. What if that person that you're stopping from traveling agrees with you? Then why should they be stopped? Answer, they shouldn't. And when most of the city of Portland didn't even vote for Donald Trump, then why should the city of Portland have been shut down multiple times several years ago? Answer, it shouldn't. So there's responsible conversations that we need to have about what it means for us to come together as a people, beyond these religions, beyond these races, so we can survive this demonic world and evolve beyond it. And I've dedicated my life. I've sacrificed desires in the city. Instead of doing that, I'm in here in the country. The only person like me for miles and miles and miles. Why? Because I believe it's worth it. I believe that you're worth it. Very few people talk to me from Portland. Eli did a shout out, made a brief donation, and that really touched my heart. Has anyone else? Answer, no. Does that shine the light a little bit more on his work and the fact that my message seems to have reached only Eli in the city of Portland? I'm taking note. I'm taking note. Do I see parallels between our experiences being biracial, being of the same age, born in Portland, Oregon, and seeing a lot of its darkness and seeing some parallels? We're very different people. But have we had similar experiences by only being less than 50% Anglo or European? Have we faced the ire of both sides of our bloodlines and the world? Answer, yes. It's not a gray area. It's not know-it-all. It's yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. And more so. So I stand against the silence of the majority of this planet that's going to be quiet while people are set up for a fall. Nations are invaded, toppled. It's almost as if this world government is sacrificing us to some sort of like devil or something. So I want people to understand that. And people of various colors and religious backgrounds need to come together against the true etheric demons of this world running the system. So I'm going to show you highlights. Let's go forward to, and they're going over the ground rules and asking people to be respectful. And then it kind of melts down regardless, but they keep the meeting going without actually stopping it.
4 or 3 or extra for the hearing impaired. And I'm going to put this mic right back here, and we'll begin. We'll just go ahead and run down the list. The first person is Sean Swaggerty.
Good evening, friends and neighbors, Corey, Chief Outlaw, Mayor Wheeler, EPB officials. I'm Sean Swaggerty. I've lived in Portland since 1992. I'm aware that the subject of tonight's listening session is police bias during demonstrations, but I urge you and outside investigators to look beyond that narrow topic. In October 2006, the FBI intelligence assessment alerted law enforcement community to a strategic effort by white supremacist groups to both infiltrate and recruit from law enforcement. The redacted assessment notes tactics by such groups that reflect uncanny similarities to events recently revealed to have been occurring here in Portland. Perhaps there is an unredacted version of this FBI intelligence assessment available for your review in Portland Police Bureau files. Daryl Johnson, lead researcher on a 2009 report from the Department of Homeland Security, has said, federal law enforcement agencies in general, the FBI, the Marshals, the ATF, are aware that extremists have infiltrated state and local law agencies that may be sympathetic to these groups, and has added that since 2009, the problem has gotten a lot more troublesome. Johnson said, there's not even any training given now to make state and local police aware of these groups and how they could infiltrate their ranks. In April 2015, an FBI counterterrorism policy guide stated that, quote, domestic terrorism investigations focused on militia extremists, white supremacist extremists, and sovereign citizen extremists often have identified active links to law enforcement officers. Given the context of recent and even past revelations and events, it is critical that PTV and independent outside investigators look very closely, not only at the possibility of coordination between extremist members of the Bureau, but also at the possibility of infiltration.
Okay, again,
of
so
the
so
police
this is
bureau.
where it begins, and it kind of goes downhill from here. But some basic information that he's sharing with you and the people on the board. This is not new information. As I said, we've already got information out of Charlottesville and across the United States that this is spreading. This deep-seated connection between elements of the far right and law enforcement, and how this is devastating for people that are involved in exposing things. For this type of a bond to take place, it's almost as if like elements of law enforcement have their own de facto army. And then when you see the Oath Keepers going InfoWars, and they talk about wanting to recruit from elements of military and police, I think they're in particular going for people that have already played a role in psyops based on what we've already learned, based on looking at other individuals that are in the alternative media that have questionable histories with the military industrial complex, yet they're bigger than life, right? We don't need to go into mentioning certain names. I feel like a lot of people attack me because I'm exposing so much, and they may not even know that. But right now, evil seems to have taken over the human species. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of facts that I'm coming across or examples of people being kind. I would say more people slander me online than be kind. And right now, it's all one-sided. And when you kind of reach that level, you need to realistically, if you're a true speaker, realize some of these people are going to take some of these psychoses live. Instead of actually look at the real people of corruption, there are people on the internet sending people in random directions to attack YouTubers because they had basically the gall to do something other than just work at 7-Eleven or McDonald's to play video games. And that's like the safe way you go through life. You work a corporate job, you play video games, you eat at McDonald's. Not to put you down if you eat at McDonald's, I do once in a while because of poverty. Whereas before I used to be able to afford it, eat at regular restaurants. Hell, I'm lucky to be able to eat at McDonald's, I guess. But it's like I've been blessed to be able to bring this to you, but it's brought nothing but pain and judgment. And it's like if there is a real shift in consciousness where people are starting to wake up, then they need to rise above the YouTube mind control and start establishing real communities where people are really discussing things like this, because it's not fully conscious for people to think that it's only happening in Portland. Portlanders themselves, they're going to be watching this, know that despite all of your get-togethers and discussions about these things, what's improving? So what's missing? Is there too much negativity and emotion and anger? I'll tell you yes. The answer is yes. Before Patriot Prayer was doing its thing, Antifa was threatening elements of innocent Portland that was not actually necessarily going along with the right-wing agenda. They were just simply trying to drive down the street. I watched those videos, and I know what I felt. And I know the judgment that I felt from Portland's left for being an independent minority. And there is no accountability at present from Antifa or the Portland left for the minorities that they've exiled. When I start to see some sort of accountability from people, then I'll start to go, okay, now these people have actually a fighting chance against the far right, because they can acknowledge how they will disown their own that don't agree with their traffic blocking tactics. Until Antifa and others on the left and in Portland can acknowledge their own tactics of disowning, then they're going to continue to think that they have the moral high ground. Actually, Portland, you were the first group to reject me. It would be the far right to be the second. Well, actually, no, first it would be both sides of my family. Then it would be the far left or left. Then it would be the right/far right. In the end, no one in my corner. Why? Because I call out the left-right paradigm.
This panel
There would only be
and
people
this
slandering me.
community. Okay, I'm asking
In the
you,
end days of
please.
the epoch,
I
you
want
would
you
not
to
see
take
friends of Alex.
accountability.
You would see
and
people
resign.
calling me
We
a
would support-
demon in the last days of this epoch. I want you to take note. I want you to keep a journal.
Mr. Rock lived into my window. My daughter plays in front of that window. She could have died. Is it your kid, Ted? It's
Louise
not.
is talking about being doxxed.
This has an impact on your community. It's disgusting. You say you want to investigate?
And I don't necessarily support his tactics, but certainly when you start putting children's information out on the internet, someone's child, I mean, there's certain levels that are really low. And you need to understand with regards to like mainstream reporting on things from what I can gather, it's 95% right wing, unless it's a specific YouTube channel to where most of their audience is, I guess, perceived left, but that's not really the independent like thought form. The left, the Young Turks, CNN, that's not really independent. And so you're wrong if you think that represents the opposition. You're wrong. They're not the opposition. They're not independent. They're corporate as hell. They're misleading people into thinking that they are the resistance against Trump. It's the same system. There's one system. There's not a left-right system. There's one system that has split itself off into fake options. This person's going to come and speak on behalf of the right.
Normally so nervous. So I think Maxine Bernstein's coverage in New York Guardian I've seen has been good and fair. In the coverage I've seen, that Jeff is being I forgot to say this. I'm Jewish. I'm the son of a Holocaust survivor. I abhor white supremacy. Woo! I worked in finance at Portland Police Bureau for 3 years, from 2009 to 2012. That experience gave me a reasonably good understanding of how police generally.
Now, keep in mind, saying that one is Jewish is the only thing, for the most part, that some people in our society like respond to when discussing like racism and being concerned. For some reason, it begins and ends with Jewish and doesn't exactly extend to the rest of us in a lot of cases. And I want you to pay attention to how they've taught people what is valuable versus what is not valuable within this nation and world.
Business Optimization Task Force. I helped run the audit to improve the Bureau with innovative cost-saving initiatives. I recruited Jeff because he was a flexible thinker and a really good cop.
Also, being a person of color does not mean that there aren't some people of color that are used by white supremacists. I don't mean by hiring them. I mean like to stand on a street corner and shout profanities about another vulnerable community group. And there's been a lot of that in recent years, right? And ways in which they are maybe promoted over other black people or people of color that aren't saying the things that they're saying. Now, some people, just for whatever reason, may not have a successful YouTube channel. Maybe, they just sit around attacking people and don't actually share truth. It's just a matter of just attacking YouTubers. That's not really going to be very popular on a larger scale, except with people that are programmed to just think like that. But if you were to look at other people that are looking at these issues that are taking place to all our people of the world, right? When you see the more spiritual ones, they seem to be the most suppressed by YouTube and the algorithm. When you see people that are wearing a Make America Great Again hat, for some reason they have 50,000 views. And I would say that there are people behind the scenes that are helping make that happen. And I think you need to think about this very carefully, how they have the machine, right? Don't sit around just blaming whites. Look at the machine using us. Look at the machine putting us in boxes. Look at the machine setting against each other, setting us against one another, instead of like properly even auto-suggesting appropriate topics when you look something up, something that like relates to the person, right? When was the last time I've even gotten into MGTOW? I don't do that because there's so much limitation within that field, right? But to like random people on the internet find me thinking like this channel is about relationships and things like that, the relationships of each other. But to just talk about this or from one angle and then to get into duality and say one is good and the other is bad, this is like garbly-goo. And what I'm really starting to understand in my journey here on this planet, whether it be for the first time or again, I suspect I've been harmed many times on this planet in human form. It's like Groundhog Day. I'm just trying to get out of here, guys, and stop the cycle of abuse and being taken out by angry villagers. I'm just trying to stop the cycle. I've asked for your help. It's not there. I understand I'm alone. I understand I'm alone. I understand I'm alone. And it's between me and God, the supreme creator, versus the devil of this world that will send people against those of us as we speak our truth into the ears of those that are listening, people looking for truth, people that are looking to escape the matrix. We don't claim to have all the knowledge or all the answers, but to realize that some of us are remembering. And as we go through these full moons, we activate. There was a part of me that was activating and declaring that, hey, if I'm taken out, you know what? In my intention, I want to merge with the sun. That's not evil to me. I want to go back to the elemental forces. Any great evil that strikes me down coming in the form of a militia gang or whatnot, because that's what I'm referring to, right? I will go back into the ether, into spirit. I will not be bound to this world. I declare now before you, the listening audience, that I will evolve beyond the hell realm. We are in the hell realm now. I'm realizing that I'm less of a human each day as time goes on. And I can come and I can talk to you and I can spill my guts to you and talk about how I care about all of you. And in the end, do I see results coming back now as I approach my 39th birthday? Right? Like deep emails, thoughtful from people that have been watching for years. It's totally silent, guys. This is not something that's just going to go away. This is like something that I'm taking very, very seriously at this time. Where are the people that have been supposedly watching for years that get it? That are able to properly give an overview of what it is that Alex Ansary talks about without paraphrasing incorrectly. Like this group sucks or that group sucks. Could you be a little bit more specific? Can you do a transcript quote without the paraphrase? So we understand to a T. Is Alex trying to beat up humanity? Or is Alex trying to tell women? Is Alex trying to tell men? Is Alex trying to tell men? Is Alex trying to tell women? You are more than your ethnicity. You are more than your flesh. You are more than this, sunshine. You can do it. That's who I am. And right now I'm feeling more in my power on that level than the other day. But the other day, with that intense stuff that you may be opposed to, hearing about the things that are happening to others, it is time to stop denying the injustice happening to everyone on earth. And it is time to stop blaming one ethnicity or one religion. It is time to call out the silence of those supposed followers of God of these religions, even to the tune of billions, even if they want to kill us and call us demons. Why are they not speaking out against the genocide in the Middle East? Why are they triggered when we ask them this? Why are they triggered when we ask them this? Well, when it rains, it pours. And what I'm realizing, when the portals open up, it's not just good stuff that streams through. It's also demons that speak to people. People that look at the computer for long periods of time. We are in an era of time in which we see the coldest expression of the human species as we see record snowfall. We literally had a foot of snow every single day in some cases, part of the week. So I've never seen snow like this ever at any time. And I'm noticing the iciest tone with society. Whether we're watching a video like this or we're looking at slander online, it's like everything is becoming evil. The good is hiding itself. Now, why would the good audience members or the good men and women hide themselves? Is it really to be taken personally? Or are they protecting themselves from being harmed by harmful forces? Are the good souls and spirits of this world about to be attacked in a great, great way? And so when we talk about rising above fear of death, you want to rise above thoughts of self-destruction, but most of all, you want to rise above the fear of being bound here and see ourselves as one with the elemental forces. Would you be willing to come back to Earth as a protector of the people that are being removed off the planet, from Africa to the Middle East, to maybe even pockets of North America in the future under a robot apocalypse? Would you be willing to fight for the human species and against evil in a form greater than your current form? Let's go back to the video. This is just free flow.
The way the PPB normally did things, and he was an outstanding member. That said, you're asking how this hurts me and what I want to do differently. One, please don't criticize a cop before you know all the facts. Second, this is hurting me as a citizen of Portland because it makes it tough to recruit good cops. And Jeff is the kind of cop I want to show up on my worst day, which is what I was told.
Now, I don't believe that we live just once, and that can get me demonized as well. But when I say that being silent about genocide can potentially bind you to this world, I mean that because it may have happened to many of us. Many of us may be in a time loop to where we're stuck in a hell realm because we haven't yet learned to speak for those forms of life that are being eradicated in large numbers. And so maybe your calling is to look deeper at the history of Africa, the history of Egypt. I know it is for myself and the Middle East. I also am aware that if we talk about certain things on YouTube, that we could lose our channel. And that there are people out there that aren't even aware of this or they don't seem to care. At that nation that's been bombed back to the Stone Age, blamed for the event that got us in these wars, that if you were to talk about that country, and if you do a documentary about that country, then you can be demonetized. That is wicked. That is wicked. Also, when you realize that talking about supernatural elements possessing people through the laptop can actually trigger that type of backlash, one has to be faced with how they go about their future. Either they silence themselves because they're seeing the poltergeist activated through people that are triggered when the demons are exposed. Facebook is highly addictive. Facebook is highly addictive. Also, YouTube. These are highly addictive mediums. Hell, there's been some days to where I've done nothing but watch YouTube. It is addictive. And we as humans are highly impressionable. Lower spirits live on YouTube and they target people to target others that are trying to help people wake up. And this is like a deeper story that each year, and it really took off when I went off the grid to get away from urban America. Because when you're isolated, negative entities involved in targeting, it could be a juicy experience for the person that's suffering from the long-term stress effects of isolation. And those are the times when I'm trying to come out and speak to you as a person that's suffering, that people attack me when I say that I'm suffering. It comes from an idea that if they were to suffer enough, maybe the demons of this world could get some of us to kill ourselves. This is why they target us. It is an attempt to take that low feeling that we're already feeling and, for better or for worse, actually telling our audience about. In some cases, crying literally, in some cases, just speaking calmly and going, guys, this is what it feels like. It hurts. It hurts. How's that demonic? One time I made the mistake of showing you my tears. That was seen by someone else a few years ago as some sort of manipulation. But I'm sitting there talking about something that probably should be restricted to a therapist, not a dude's YouTube channel. But I didn't care. I trusted you. I thought we were having an experience. But I've seen in recent years everything that I've done to help you and to understand the ways in which humans manipulate each other. It seems to be like used as a way to X someone out from this world and to exile them. You know, I look for evidence that there's ways in which you're supporting me and my name online, and I don't see any evidence. There are signs in which I see people wake up and they contact me, and there's some sort of backlash that happens at the same time. Because somebody woke up, then there's something else that happens that's triggered. And it's like there is a lot of healing that can occur for people that have overcome possessions, where they're actually able. It hasn't happened to me yet, to where I've heard from someone that has woken themselves up from a deep sleep of great anger, unjust anger, at the wrong person at the wrong time for the wrong reason. Think about the little kid in Indiana Jones. He's trying to wake up Indiana Jones from the evil after Indiana Jones drank the blood. He says, "Wake up, Dr. Jones! Wake up, Dr. Jones!" And there's a big part of me that feels like it's saying, wake up, humanity. You are so much more loving. You are so much more loving than this. We were so much more. We were so much more as a people. Right now, we are going into the machine. And you don't have to go into the machine, right? I'm not trying to put out a negative affirmation. We can rise above the machine. You have a right to evolve beyond this world. But I'm like seeing a lot of things right now after this full moon. I'm feeling them, not seeing them, not hallucinations, but more like internal visions. And there seems to be a massive stranglehold on elements of our society. And any of those of us that got involved in being anti-Archon, we put ourselves on our radar. And there is a potential that when you put yourself on the radar, that maybe, the attacks don't come all at once, but it's something that's just kind of waiting and waiting. And there are people out there that are using social media for the most wicked reasons. And there are more people out there that are saying evil things than good things, hands down. I haven't heard from any women of my past that I was deeply involved with, nor family. These are detrimental signs. And there's a difference between misogyny and being concerned for a woman's spiritual well-being. And I'm going to kind of try to stop now, but I wrote a lot today. I'm trying to get back into writing. I'm going to try to pull away from YouTube. I'm going to try to write a book for you. Because I think that when people are listening to me on YouTube, they're listening and they're thinking and they're not really hearing me. And they're incorrectly paraphrasing me. And I believe that people know nothing about me. Whereas if I was to actually produce a PDF about my life story, the alienation from both sides of my family, the early drug addiction, getting free of that, starting the show before YouTube was even around, seeing what type of support was there from just about every racial group, and very little even white supremacy throwing itself at me. And that really coming later, culminating in the Maximus of 2016, 2017. I am telling you the truth that it's only in recent years that I've seen the effect of the social media darkness really infect people to a point where I'm borderline scared straight. I wonder if I should leave. More than one thing I'm referring to. And I need to make sure my audience can hear me. I'm not seeing positive confirmation, right, that people would have my back in any situation at all. So then I have to ask myself, like, what is the point of all these videos that I'm doing with you if it leads to me being exiled even further and targeted more on the internet? In what way are you pushing back against that evil and showing support and making sure that a guy like me doesn't get sucked under by the undertow or his own stress of isolated living? You know, Colorado is a big state. There really is no excuse for decent people to not find me in Colorado. What I do believe is that the state, the land underneath us, seems to have infected the people in a way that I would not describe as positive. And if I don't know you in Colorado and you're a good person, then just take that as constructive feedback for the rest of Colorado. I don't know you. But why get so defensive? The greater reality is I knew what it was like to have friends in Colorado a couple of years ago before I even got deep into this analysis of the archons. And if you talk about the supernatural or demons or things of that nature, they will hunt you wherever you go on the planet. And it's like when you're trying to speak truth to people on YouTube, it's like trying to also get to know someone over alcohol. You're not going to be able to do it without the spirits getting in the way. We talk to each other through a medium in which supernatural spirits influence elements of ourselves. That's how you have things like real psychic attack, where it comes from. I think there are entities that jump in and out through the screen. And I wrote down, if you realize what it was that caused an attack, what it was that you were talking about, saying to the true speaker based on my own experiences, don't stop talking about what it was. Talk about it again and again. So I talk about how the sun, as beautiful as it is, it's a form of energy that at times is also used as a conduit for the supernatural, as a boost up. And there's certain dates and times in which they wage war on the human species. This includes messing with our biology and trying to create racial tensions. And if you try to help people of a vulnerable community group, they could be of a certain minority group or women, elements of that group may come after you without knowing that you're trying to speak on their behalf. They may think you're the devil because of how one sounds through this medium, which I now pen on paper and coin, really got my juices flowing to spend an hour writing and not on the internet. But to really coin that phrase, mixing truthing and YouTube is like mixing alcohol and trying to meet someone. Hey, it may end up in a one-night stand. How many one-night stands, wild one-night stands with alcohol with those pretty women back in Portland, watch my content today? As I said before, there were people willing to bed down with me, but how about like absorb some of the content? There are even people today that make the mistake of inviting someone to physically meet them while misperceiving what their message is. That is dangerous behavior. And as your uncle in spirit, not your potential boyfriend, and certainly not your son, as your advisor on all things spiritual, to you as a man or a woman. Never invite anyone into your arena when you don't actually know what they're about, what they stand for, and the people that they're fighting for. And I'm realizing now that unless something is actually in writing or stone, but anything in writing, folks, has to be printed out. And so there will be a physical Alex Ansary zine that in the future you will be able to order. You will be able to order the Alex Ansary zine. And when you read the Alex Ansary zine, one will have a thing about my life story. One's going to be concentrated truth about how all the world's races are under the control, unfortunately, of whatever controls this matrix. And we need to stay away from fighting each other over our physical differences and our religious belief differences in order to rise above the prison planet. And I'm not going to stop talking about those issues that I believe has resulted in my own spiritual targeting. And I mean in my sleep. Last night in a dream, somebody was firing a 38 caliber at me. And I touched my grandfather, MWNAGL, Nagel, and I said, they're coming after me. And he didn't call me crazy. He nodded and looked on in the distance. Okay? And as that person fired that 38 caliber, all I was simply doing is jumping off of some sort of a building on top of the person. I didn't feel the impact of the bullet within me, right? But I heard it. I'm thinking, of course, the end scene of Joe Pesci. And then I remember that I was cursed. I was cursed in the last couple of weeks online. Some of you may be aware of this. I was cursed in the name of a number of demons. The thing is, like, when I bring this to your awareness and you and others remain silent, you need to understand that I made it really clear to you what the situation was. I made it really clear to you that some of the things that I'm talking about on the internet seem to be hitting some big issues with some demonic realms. It's creating some friction. I'm pissing some demons off. And it's like every time a guy like me unplugs random people on the internet, it seems like I risk physical safety to help you. And it's like I have to slow it down and make sure that you understand that this isn't a show. This is my life. I'm literally surrounded by snow. No one lives like me and also does YouTube. Has no family, lives in isolation, or has distant family, but they're not part of my family and life because of my information. And I have to accept that it's alienated them, all of them. Why are then the most vulnerable community members on the earth the most targeted? Well, the people that actually make the bombs and actually promote the racism and promote slavery, they get a pass. They don't get, quote unquote, exposed. And yet they're actually doing really bad stuff. And it's like people need to stay away from, but when you call out racism that does exist and is possible with every racial group, you'll find if you walk one day in my shoes that there isn't a multicultural, happy, loving potluck to retreat to, where the multicultural ethnic people of the world say, thank you, Alex. We're your friend. We've got you, bro. We've got you. We've got you, bro. We've got you. Silence. Why silence? Fear of their own persecution and targeting. And I accept that, and that is the truth. And that's why the people that keep a distance aren't bad people. They're still students of mine that understand this stuff is real. But in some cases, right, they're not afraid of being targeted. They're just simply, in a way, taking the information that relates to them and not giving back. And it's like when I give and I give and I give, and other people don't give back. I want to thank those of you that have donated, but it's like there's a lot of people out there, though, that watch these videos for the wrong reasons. And it's like I'm going to be making major changes within my life this year to save my life. Because my pleas through the internet realm seem to have done nothing. And I'm reaching this awareness now. I'm hitting the wall, but it's a breakthrough, not a breakdown. The breakdown leads to the breakthrough. And the breakthrough is we need to return to the golden art of writing, drawing, music. I played something that I downloaded from YouTube saying protection against evil forces where the guy was chanting. I don't even know what he's saying, but I know that the audience responded wholesale positively in the comment section. And I felt some positive things within my own energy field listening to it. And I think that it's sickness when people demonize someone singing, someone oming, then I realize there's a great evil coming against the natural earth bloodlines, or people that are connected to those that have been here for thousands and thousands of years, people like myself, through my father. And when you see such demonization of so many bloodlines and how they even recruit minorities to serve in the targeting of those other minorities or those called other, those that aren't so easily labeled. And we're seeing now, and people are waking up, that this is real, that this isn't just about calling out, quote unquote, white supremacy. It's about all the different forms of hatred of all the people. And see, if a man like me talks like that, someone's going to twist it around. No, no, no. Racism does exist in all different ethnic backgrounds. Those people that say that it's only a product of white people are running propaganda, and that's not going to lead us to the truth. You can look at foreign countries where there's examples of people being persecuted based on their tribal backgrounds. You have to ask yourself, who brought us this system where we were divided? What type of a world is it where someone's main example of me being evil is what my freaking face looks like? My face. You need to understand when we start descending into the lower hell realms, the types of stuff that people do right before concentration camps are built, manned. And no, we've been at a state of them building things up to a certain level. But now we're at a level of people being demonized for being independent, to where it's a really bad thing to be different now and not just work at McDonald's or Walmart, and to not just be a Democrat, a Republican, a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, an atheist, or something else, a scientist. What about those of us that are outside the box? Well, when you're outside the box and you're calling out all these different groups, there's going to be unconscious demonic elements that can exist within all humans, not just certain humans. And when that happens, boy, you got a problem. Unless there's good humans, they're going to have your back. But in the end, do we look to humans to protect us and firearms, or do we look to the Holy Spirit? Do we look to Jesus? Do we look to the creator of all that is? There may be people that truly believe a scripture that says, no, this is the ultimate. And if someone says otherwise, oh, they're real bad. Yeah, we got to evolve beyond that, because they've used that type of thinking to murder people for thousands and thousands of years. In a world where someone that's labeled a demon is literally murdered. And that's what people need to figure out. Yet people now are reverting back to a psychology that was predominant in Nazi Germany. And we're now in a time where people want to argue and say it didn't happen. And while we watch people get together in these urban areas, people aren't having conscious conversations in rural areas. We're already under their control in the supremacy reality. And that's a fact, Jack. Unless you're a Native American with your reservation, that's the point I was getting at. Unless you're a Hispanic with deep roots and a lot of land and family, if you're a newcomer to Colorado and you look a little bit different, you will live, you will eat, you will be as alone as you were at 10 years old in middle school, where no one came up to you unless they were coming up to you to bully you and literally tower over you. And of all the different times that I was attacked, I never saw it as their race. When some people attacked me that happened to be black, it was programming. And to this day, people would think that I would be weird for speaking out against all these different forms of racism. And I believe every racial group is represented now in attacking me and disowning me and judging me. And what this would forge me as a spirit to not only believe in myself, but to abstain from any of the racial groups being better or worse from each other in their dealings with me. In general, all the perceived humanoid races on the earth have predominantly judged me as not wanted, not good enough, not desirable enough, not their brother, but something from hell, the thing that should not be. And I truly know within my heart, it's the combination of all the different things and the combination of ancestries and those ancestral connections and the good that I'm trying to do and the corrections that I'm trying to make. I know there's negative things karmically that have happened in the past that I have no control over on both sides of the bloodline. And my soul came into these various bloodlines and began to speak to you a truth that's within my blood. Part of that is the visions of those foreign nations stomping on our soil. Part of it is standing up for women, which is not noticed by the women of this day or the audience that I know of. Sharing with you the vision and the warning that certain areas on the planet will be overtaken by these criminal gangs that will be earning money hunting women after the collapse of America. Some of it will be racial. Sometimes they're propagandizing and other things on the internet to kind of make way for what's coming in the future. And it's like I'm looking at this kind of like a Native American that would say 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago, white man's coming, not for you to be defensive every time you just hear those two words. But you think about the idea of like a vision, having a vision and a warning. These people are coming. Our way of life is about to end. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It means it's the end of a cycle. Now, I've been talking about when America gets its karmic return for a long, long time. We need to clean up our act now. So there's clean up our act now, try to clean up our own karma, but without offing ourselves, we need to rise above the fear of death and people cursing us. We need to realize that if we're actually going to go all the way and speak out against the evil of this world, we take the risk of being murdered now. I saw even signs of it building last year where anything Gnostic that I was saying was perceived as Luciferian. This is the same shit that was happening 1,000 years ago. You need to understand that. Like something's overtaken a lot of us and some of you. People were way more open to the stuff 10 years ago and just talking about spirituality and, let's not just label everything New Age. Let's question some of the official religions. Let's try to look at the movie The Matrix and ask ourselves, how do we evolve beyond this Matrix? Now in 2019, I don't know what type of portal is opening up, but those of us that have dedicated our life to this are on some sort of a fucking radar. And there are people out there that are cursing us. And there aren't enough of you that are standing up to the plate praying for us and putting out a conduit or an anchor of stabilizing energy. I would be so honored to hear that someone that is a professional as a life coach and helping people clear their own energies was a listener of mine. I would be honored to hear that someone that built websites was a listener of mine, or an author or an editor, or someone that did hiring at a news station. I appreciate you for being there, but I got to vocalize. I'm always praying for someone to discover me and become a part of the audience so that I can help the most people, because I am limited in scope in terms of energy when I am isolated. And I was not attacked in the same way when I lived in a city. Evil forces, when they know someone's vulnerable, will work through humans to convince that true speaker that they probably shouldn't remain alive anymore. And now I can see what's happening and why. And I have to be faced with the ultimate decision. You either go down one route and you go all the way, or you go into hiding. You can't do both. And to go all the way means to face the danger of those possessed humans that will think that we are the devil incarnate. And this is terrifying. When I know that a lot of people are acting on a certain programming that's coming from the internet as spirits jump in and out of your screen in coordination with full moons and geomagnetic storms. So unless someone is actually on a higher vibration, some of our brothers and sisters are being taken over and they're acting out on that programming. And there's nothing that we can do or say to help them or defend ourselves, but run when danger comes. And that's the real world that we're living in. Pray for the people of Portland. They don't deserve to be all labeled Antifa. Pray that some of the members of Antifa learn that when you yell at people that aren't against you, it's pointless. And I'm just saying that in general. I'm not a right-wing lunatic. The people of Portland have treated me lower than fecal matter. At some point, the people of Portland should understand that a guy like me should have never been exiled from a city like yours. In fact, I'm very Portland, and Portland is very me, the good elements of it. What am I doing here? Seriously, what am I doing here? Who has ever offered a job to me in Portland? Would I consider it? Well, actually, I would, depending on what you're offering. Are you involved in management? Have I ever had any friends in management that ever hooked me up when they had the opportunity? No, I don't blame them, but that would have set my life in a different direction. Maybe I wasn't meant to be in Portland and they were really just setting me free. But like so much of my thoughts now are unfortunately consumed with how the good work that I've done is misseen as something that it's not by every gender and humanoid race
So
of the
before
earth.
we move forward,
That also keeps me out of racism and
we're
seeing
doing
any group as
good.
being above or below, and realizing that
And
I'm
I'm
dealing with
glad
a
it's okay
planet
to
of people that are silent about the things that matter, including their own persecution of their own people. Some people will be silent about their own persecution of their own people when they're being paid. And so we need to understand that. And as some people of color rise, we need to remember to help each other rise. And that rising is not any form of supremacy of one group then standing over another. And I'm not referring to this man. I'm referring to some people in politics and some people that are in the media. As I said before, elements of the far right are using some people of color, including some Latinos. Not too many Arabs or Middle Easterns, but they're being used still. I guess we have that guy, the Indian guy, who just talks about Hillary, and he's really popular as a man of East Indian descent. You understand this, of course, right? Because he's used by the far right. DeSagio, I don't follow his content, but he's clearly East Indian, and he's talking about Hillary all the time and just deep state. It's like Mr. Fake News on steroids. Just pull a string and he's repeating the Fox News talking points. And he's a minority. Why do you see that minority on TV? Okay, it's because of what he's saying. If he was to be saying something different, if he was to be independent, he would have a totally different life experience as a person of color.
agree and
So
disagree.
become aware of this as people try to
That's right.
rise
As a
up.
reminder, we also want to hear solutions. So, Bob, thank you. Louise, thank you. Philip, thank you. Sean, thank you. Thank you for your voice.
Okay.
Next.
And it's his job and whoever's job it is to make sure that that's being said so that people feel that their voice is being heard, because their voice doesn't feel like it's being heard when it's at Portland City Council. This is being done at a church. Now, it's nice that it's being done at a church and that the community and the city are working together. It's also a reasonable question to the audience to ask, shouldn't there be some sort of separation between church and state? So keep in mind, out of respect to these men and the church, that the city of corruption can use churches as a cover to try to control things in their particular in a particular way without it being a violation of free speech, but it being about private property. And so there is an argument that things relating to city business and what is called a listening session, where they just listen to the public, show their anger and suspicion at the operations of the Portland police. Um, they have it set up for them just to listen, not to respond. But it's on behalf of the people there to be on point enough, which this gentleman standing is trying to make it clear to them. Hey, you got 2 minutes. Think about solutions. We're tired of just hearing you guys just go off and yell and blame. Now, I want to fast forward to what a woman is saying here a little bit later, and she's talking about and letting these white Antifa know, hey, she's saying as a black person, we've been displaced from our community because you came here, you made it white, you made it really valuable. And people not from Portland take offense to that. Hey, they didn't see what happened to Northeast Portland like I did and the rest of them did. It did transform from Crips First Bloods and the drive-by to gentrification. But she's trying to make a quick point that the importation of crack cocaine into African American communities played a huge role in the devaluation of the real estate properties. Then they make a TV show after they displace those people, and then you got all these people moving from New York, California, coming to the big go west, majestic west, and it's displaced people. It displaced me. Do I then respond and get part of an extremist movement for the people that have moved into Portland? Nope. I actually continue to advise them from the mountaintop. And do I think that there is almost a mixture of energy between myself and the people of Portland? Absolutely. So, there'll be a kind of like almost a merger of, I don't know how much of my consciousness they're picking up on or how many people are watching from Portland, but I can feel you, Portland. And I feel that some of you can feel me.
Next.
And I feel like I want to maintain some clean lines of communication.
Where's Miss?
Respect.
This is the guy that was attacked by Tiny and Russell and the loss prevention officer Fred Meyer that's also involved in the process. He's talking about what happened at Lloyd Center when they got out of the truck and popped them in the face.
Thanks. Well,
Yeah, this stuff's happening.
in terms
Right
of the
wing gang
violence
banging.
that the last speaker was talking about, my name is Tim Levitt. I was assaulted on the street on Broadway in the middle of the day, not in a protest, as a person walking across a crosswalk by some of the people that are talked about in these texts. In fact, the person who assaulted me was talked about in terms of him evading getting arrested for a warrant for other assaults. Tiny. Yeah, so I didn't want to deal with that. Like, I have my own political beliefs, but they didn't factor in when this situation happened. I was just a citizen walking down the street, and I didn't like being called homophobic slurs from a truck. And then I was assaulted. My pregnant ex-wife, who I was going to meet at the time, was threatened at the time. She was 8.5 months pregnant. I got a mild concussion. I got my lips split open by two individuals that are twice the size of me, and for nothing. I mean, I'm 35 years old. It's not. I mean, I'm from Boston.
And I'm not cutting them off or anything, but I want you to see more. I want you to see the main highlights of this. And,
racists, and then the Patriot Prayer Conservative, they're a conservative group, so they're pro-military. They respect cops. And I want to say that Antifa's hissing, spiteful, venomous at the system, exactly, is the entire point of their movement. So the difference is night and day. The difference is night and day between the overall attitude of Patriot Prayer and the overall attitude of Antifa.
and throughout the whole thing, I am noticing the beautiful woman on the right. And, I do have a flashback of when I was in Texas, hearing racist things being said about a Hispanic girl that I liked. Her name was Veronica Navarro. It was Dallas, Texas. And, they really didn't start demonizing like people like me as much until recent years. It was real soft, like I said, after 9/11. But I was always resistant to what I would hear some white people say about Mexicans and blacks. It really unnerved me that they felt so open about the things that they were saying. And so when I remember this man saying this about that woman, and then also being degrading to me, saying, you just want to sleep with her. I want to see a woman speak truth outside the left right paradigm. Now, Veronica was way too into Occupy and Democrat stuff and Obama. So there was a disconnect. And in the end, she was more into white guys than me, which is fine. But the greater reality is, despite the things that people talk about racially in the MGTOW movement, my experience has been the opposite. My experience has been totally like reverse of what they're saying, where I'm not the one that's chosen. It's their demographic that's chosen instead of their demographic being passed up. In my experiences and everything that I've ever physically seen in my own eyes in the actual bars of Portland, who the women are actually with, okay? And that's not attacking you, but to say that it's very insulting to live in a body, in a world where there's a big meme going around that certain men are preferred because of some video they watched or a magazine or something happening, or people that are seemingly multicultural in big friggin' cities in California, where that's just what people do anyways in big cities. You get out in the real friggin' world, the real world, beyond your little California nightmare, and you get into the sticks, or you go up into Portland, you find out what real life's about, and you see who the women are choosing. And that's fine, but it's not what the far right says. That is a lie. And there's no Muslim supremacy going on in Portland, like some people in the far right will say in the comment section. What you'll see is a few community members with the fear so great that they're going down as a part of their own therapy, saying they don't trust the JTTF, they don't trust the FBI because of these things that are coming. And like years ago, they'd be like, "Hell yeah, we fucking agree. We agree with you." Then there'll be people on the internet going, "This is supremacy, Muslim supremacy." Like not even realize like there's actually very few people in certain places in the United States of a certain uniqueness. Even more so when you're a little bit like me and you have a little bit of everything in you. And that is not a world that feels safe and loving, especially when you're isolated. And when you're in your third year of isolation, and when all the people in your community hate you and distrust you, that is something that's almost like an illness that can take over the body. So that's why I say, there's some major supernatural attacks on some of us that are the most alone in this world. And it's like the reason some of these things happen on the supernatural level is because I'm trying to help some of you wake up. And I realize now, again, there's going to be limitations with doing this through YouTube. I told myself I was going to do any videos for the weekend. But it's like, no, I kind of got to go with this while it's fresh. And I need to keep speaking and preserving information for a future generation of men and women and men of all remaining ethnicities that at that time won't have been removed off the planet. And they will look at the things that Alex Ansary said, and they're not going to be going demon, 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 demon. Bad man. Man thinks this, man thinks that, like all these different misconceptions as to who I am and what I'm about and what this channel is talking about. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I'm not really sure the confusion, but it's really clear to me that I'm lucky, I guess, to have any viewers at all. But it's very clear now that putting out videos by intellectual black men that are speaking against racism without being racist themselves is not drawing support. It's drawing ire. I can feel it in the matrix. I can feel unjustified anger when I'm trying to assist people in a deprogramming. I'm not feeling a pure, loving, Alex, here's a hug. Not even on a telepathic level. It's a sense of, why is he going there? Is he attacking me? And that type of, wait a minute, guys, I'm talking about things that affect the species. The narcissism has to be reeled in. If someone is going to take part in something that's ultimately a self-help channel in deprogramming from this fallen world, then it has to be understood that that's what it is. It's not just this. It's not just that. It's not just this. And I am not defined by my genetics. My value is not defined on how you perceive my face, as others would see it, the face of a foreigner or the face of a mutt. Okay, my value and my spiritual value has nothing to do with the size of my lips, whether you think you can trust my eyes, whether you like my haircut or not. I am tired of 15 years of judgment based on what someone's face looks like, being the determining factor whether people listen to me or not. The way that I look at it now, either the truth is written down and printed out on paper, or the truth won't even be known to exist after the major energy changes come to our planet. So preserve the knowledge. Understand that you are being blessed with truth. Okay? You're not being cursed with doom and gloom. Others are misusing the elemental forces of YouTube. And they need to understand that when you do that, that things backlash at some point. And we need to work to heal ourselves from the damage that we ourselves have done. What have we done to harm others? What have we done to unjustly persecute others, either in this life or another? Did we do things in the past to either white people or people of color, or both? Or did we play a role in the fall of this world in a very ancient lifetime that led to many lifetimes being stuck in the matrix? We should be asking any and all combinations of questions if we are to evolve out of this reality, like Cube, that movie, which I haven't really watched in a while, but I guess that one girl's in it. Anyway, it's like we're in a cube reality trying to find our way outside the box.
Targeted and doxxed by members of Monteville Initiative and publicly threatened and demeaned.
This would be an example where he's saying good stuff, but he seems more into putting on a performance and his audience getting high off of his performance rather than any real discussion whatsoever going anywhere. And so there's like the psychosis of the revolution. And again, I'm not against the issues that are important. We're talking about tactics. We're talking about, are you guys just there for the party? Or is there like a real dialogue? Is anyone communicating with me from Portland saying, Alex, thank you for looking out. Good looking out, Alex. Thanks for looking out. The answer is no. But thank you, Eli.
So
in the lead up to the elections, messages were stolen, emails were stolen from the neighborhood association and sent out about an Antifa scare in the neighborhood. Patriots, and included in the emails were words about patriots showing up. Joey Gibson then threatened to come to the neighborhood, but homeless advocates won out in the elections when Max Train stabbing hero Micah Fletcher came out, and we won.
We need to talk, though. If we're going to talk about supernatural, I expose how Jeremy Christian was citing Odin, Kali, and other demonic deities on his Facebook page before he went out and murdered 2 people. I did that. I exposed that. What was there, 3 likes on that video? I don't know. Maybe some of you are around long enough to have laughed at the video at the time. Are you still laughing? Here we are 3 years ago. I think I took the video down because I exposed so much of what's happening in the supernatural. I wonder if sometimes I go too far. And then I wonder, oh my God, I better put this behind a paywall. Because weird stuff happens when I expose possessions of humans. And I discuss what's taking place. And we're specifically talking about people that start hearing voices, talking to demons, and they go out and commit the crime of homicide. Not just people that look funny and have weird opinions. I'm talking about people that somehow act on those voices in the head. And that's the area of contention now, because I'm concerned that after 12 months from now, we're going to have more people walking amongst us that are traveling the country hunting.
In the ensuing aftermath, threats continued against all elected members of the neighborhood association, which, may I remind you, is an official entity in the city government of Portland. Those are elected officials in the city of Portland. So my question is, why is my name included in the public messages sent out as members of Antifa, with 5 out of the 7 people listed there being elected officials to the Montevilla Neighborhood Association? So why was that sent out? Why is the Portland police talking to people saying this is valuable information? Thank you for sending me this information.
Now, so far, all this is good. It's kind of how he ends it that makes one kind of roll their eyes. We're getting there.
Including people in our community who are elected officials who are advocating against the police's policy of sweeping the homeless. Why is that happening? That is a crime, criminal negligence. And meanwhile, Mayor Ted Wheeler sits and meets with these anti-homeless hate groups, Montevilla Initiative, and their sisters and brothers in the Lynch Neighborhood Association, which also does vigilante actions targeting the most desperate people in our communities for violence. So, this is no coincidence that a few months later, my name is put on a fucking dossier, and I am targeted by Jeff Mia in front of the IWW
Thank you
Union
very
Hall.
much, Tyler.
My Patriot Prayer Law.
Thank you very much, Tyler.
See right there, that's all about him and his peers and being popular. And I don't use this term white privilege, but this is the privilege that a lot of people have in just regular society when you're not considered a threat and you're not so different that you don't even have a tribe. And again, most people have never been as isolated as me. So, I see somebody with their tongue out. That's what it is for these. It's too primal. It's too primal. Certain things move forward in the world. Hey, I exited the womb in Portland, Oregon. I came across some of my deep ideas. But look at the black gentleman who's not really getting all excited to sit in the front. See, he's seen this nonsense before from these people. He knows what's up. And if you observe their behavior, in a way, professional behavior, they're not getting all up in arms like they are, making a big deal. Hoo, ha, 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 ha. And they start snapping their fingers earlier, and it's like cult thinking. But if you criticize any of that, you're called a hate monger, even if you're not a right winger. And so we need like an intellectual movement. Like, okay, forget conspiracy theory, forget left, forget right, forget religious extremism. Let's think about what would be a new movement where someone could truly be against fascism, but not be a follower of Antifa and the bully tactics that they use. Then what would it look like for a group to be against fascism? What would that look like? How can we show an example of that? Now, what are they talking about? And I believe the woman's coming up next.
We want return to the neighborhood revolution! H2O
and say they're like, yep, just let him finish because he's not going to stop, and the crowd's with him. So and they want to keep things moving forward, but they know ultimately this dominant mentality rules. This type of look at me here, here, here. But then the moderators try to keep a professional tone and not let these people take over and say, look, folks, we're trying to keep things professional because we're limited on time. Just stay focused. He said it's not about you, Tyler. It's not about you, Tyler. It's not about you, Tyler. See, it's not about you, Tyler. See, it's not about you, Portland. It's not about you, Portland. You will exile minorities that are against fascism for simply being different. You can't be the savior of me when they're coming for me in the gas chambers and others that are the actual targets of what they want with their ethno state. How can you then be my protector, Antifa, if you would exile me as well into dangerous territory? No one's trying to answer the question. I just want to say one. No, I'm exiled in the land of the type of people that think just like the people that you're protesting because I couldn't afford to live in Portland. That's fucked up. Sure, that's something to brag about, I guess, as you're running. Hey, I ran over here. I missed a hammer dropping. Hey, congrats, Alex. Congrats on your running. Yay. But it's like, what does it really say? If a person after 15 years of creating content has nothing and no one, but kind of like this vision opening up that there are people that would like to keep me in fear or put me in fear if danger is not coming. That they would rather, though, that I be in a state of mind of feeling that way as a result of my isolation. So I'm also aware there's mind wars taking place. As they say, there is a war for your mind. There are very few people out there that are doing what I'm doing on YouTube and getting to this level. I think if I was to consult a Native American or someone else, maybe they would not recommend it. Who knows? Maybe they would. Like, yeah, man, talk that truth. I don't know. There's still a lot of Native Americans that are careful about cameras now or staying off the internet and continuing their religious ceremonies with the Supreme Being, but not necessarily sharing their spirituality with others on YouTube. See, I chose just straight coming out with my birth name, talking about these things that's in my blood. And when you do that, it activates those demonic forces that would like to smash us down. Now, what was that young man discussing? He was discussing the doxing that came about from the city of Portland being on a board that was supporting a group that was anti-homeless or believed to be that, at least siding with the business communities probably. And there's a right-wing element in the Montevilla area. I believe that's around Southeast Stark and 78th. It's always going to be kind of a nasty area. You had some Asian gangs back in the area, back at that pool hall, I think, back in the day. So there are some mean energies there that are coming against the people of the community that want to see the homeless being given more than the rough treatment, being sent to jail. So this woman coming up next shares how the city of Portland put her safety in jeopardy, potentially.
Is that in this interaction right here?
Hi, good evening. My name is Lauren. I've lived in Portland for a little over 10 years. And I'm here to discuss why I mistrust you all and the impact this has had to me. I have been in the community volunteering. Get closer to the mic. Multiple boards volunteering.
It's not working.
Hold on just a second, please. What color mic is
See all the unnecessary negative energy in that room over a microphone? Like even like in what should be like a comfortable sitting. And again, this is close to the full moon. And a lot of Portlanders, even those that are into New Age astrology, Wicca, pagan, witchcraft, still don't know about this deep knowledge that I've stumbled upon that others can find out about how the solar flares combined with the full moon can really activate certain people may know if they really know their stuff. And it's not just like symbols, weird symbols that they're drawing on themselves, but they truly do know how these elemental forces impact their city specifically, not just the whole planet, but I could definitely feel it from here. And I can feel the energy from Portland as it blows in this direction to Colorado. The only way that I can wall myself off from having this ongoing discussion about Portland affairs is for me to cut the internet. And for me to cut the internet, I got to have something else big that's going on in my life. That's going to be, requiring that I go travel and do things. In that case, I will cut the internet. But as long as I'm tapped into the world and talking about physical news, discussing Portland, what happens to Portland, whether Portland falls off into the sea or not, whether my warnings to Portland in the coming decade start to manifest or not, all these things and more will stay at our top of our focus.
There are three colors. I think they got swapped.
One of the mics died. The other wireless mic died.
Okay, the fans on them. One's red, one's white, one's black. So
And this is black.
What do you use?
Yeah, black.
This is black over here.
See, this is taking way too long.
This is black.
Okay, do a sound check.
Test.
You can also tell how impatient they are.
Good evening,
Right?
my name is Lauren, and I'm here to tell you why I mistrust you and the impact this has had on me. I've lived in Portland for over 10 years. I volunteered in my community, started youth philanthropy boards, been the board of directors of many nonprofits in the community. And I'm here because my name was put out in those emails by the Portland police. I'm here because I'm being directly threatened by people like the Patriot Prayer, people like the Proud Boys, racist, ultra-chauvinists in our community. I'm actively being sent death threats and other threats.
Okay, death threats and other threats. What do you think this pretty woman's other threats might be from these supposed saviors from the radical Muslims? Now think on that. Because everything from these groups and these individuals is about what Muslims do, what Arabs do, what blacks do. We keep hearing about Mexicans from the right-wing extremists. But over and over and over again, we've seen the right-wing extremists threaten white women with sexual assault on Facebook. And there will even be, and I made a video about this, women that don't call out what the men are saying to other women. So they will say a woman might do something crazy like disrespect the U.S. flag in their eyes, like one did. She urinated on it, and there were people calling for sexual assault, even putting up groups to target her specifically on Facebook. And I joined one just to see what they were doing. And there were people that were saying they were coming for her with all types of weapons that they were going to put in her body. And there were other women, or at least Facebook pages with female icons, that were going along with this. And it's like, I don't think that Americans are able to look at themselves. And it's just like the same thing when you hear about a criminal and people are like, oh, I hope he gets it in jail. Like, are we a society that's moving forward, or a society that is run by energetic barbarians, people that are of a lower nature vibrationally, of various ethnicities, right, that are in charge, that are allowing these things? Rape is a very violent weapon of war, and it is still taking place today. And when I saw if there was a Me Too movement, but not actually talking about what soldiers have done overseas, it is not really showing any real concern for women's rights when you prop up some women or American women over others out of just simply getting off on superiority. That's sick. That's really, really sick. And so when you have people in the society, everything that they say is about defending their women from the rapist barbarians over the wall, but you see them also stoop to the same level and derogatory. Sometimes they're called Jezebel, or other biblical names are used to call them names. But what about showing them what God would want, or something of the Creator? A lot of people come in the name of religion to kill us and to curse us. And it's like, that's not healthy. Don't ever let people online teach you that that's the way that we treat each other. And right now, I think that that's the way of the new world, that the internet is weaponized. That's why I left Facebook. The people on social media and the internet have every opportunity to show me a new humanity, a new woman, a new man, men and women and men that get me, that don't misunderstand me, that are healed by my words, not cut by my words, so on and so forth.
By these people because you leaked my name. Let me tell you how you got my name. You also got my name like Tyler's. I was on the board of directors for the Montevilla Neighborhood Association. It was leaked to you all by somebody from Montevilla Initiative, and I guess...
Which one of you can say that you have felt healing of a very deep, profound nature, and you can remember to actually document it? How many of you of the female gender that have stated such things in the past that remained a listener today, that actually hears this question being posed? When I see things in society turn ice cold, and I look at 2018, go to 2019, and I pause for a moment and I say, this is now where we're at, and what my years of activism socially has led to. Things even either getting better or getting as bad as they've ever possibly been. The point where it's like, will this internet connection be a conduit for something better? Or is the demonic element of the social media connection, which includes YouTube and its ability to possess some viewers, an absolutely total waste of my time then at this point? Would I be better than served writing a book and physically moving into a big city, overriding fear of certain things, including World War III and being stuck on the West Coast? Should I risk it all to speak again to organic ears outside of a 2D screen? Things I think about when it's
important enough to be
late
listed
at
on your
night and
website
the
to the media.
lights are out.
While I understand Sergeant Nia is on a paid vacation right now, I am
The
being
lights are
actively
out.
hunted by these people, and you haven't even taken that off your website. So I'm here to demand accountability for that. Thank you. I'm here to let you know that you guys have directly put my life and many others in danger. Who am I supposed to call when I'm being threatened? I certainly can't call you.
So again, the people on the right think that the mayor's Antifa that don't even live in Portland. They have no clue that the city of Portland is its own little micro world order, full of gatekeepers and people that seem like they're bringing change we can believe in, blah, 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 but it's really still the same system. There's a lot of people out there that think that African-American Councilwoman Joanne Hardesty, which is the first black woman on the city council, many people are seeing that she's going to be the one to bring the change they've been waiting for. Now, some people don't want to hear that are programmed to be angry when I feature a black voice on my channel, whether it be Nellie Fuller, whether it be Eli Ritchie, whether it be the other people that are talking about race-based trauma stress, right? But I have to go beyond what you think about me and ask that you understand that every time you hear about someone sharing their truth, that this applies to you, even if you're white. If you're white, in some environments, you may have experienced racism, you may have experienced trauma or sexual assault. At some point in your adult evolution, you can hear someone else's experience from someone that looks different and have healing in your own way from hearing someone else's story and how they survived it. You can actually rise above a level of physically taking something personally as if you're personally being attacked and instead directly address why you think that way. Directly address why you would compare a totally independent guy in the middle of the woods to CNN when there's no comparison to the two nor what they represent. There's reasons why people start thinking in madness terms in memes. And there was a time in which people were not as nuts. There was a time in which the comment section Facebook was fun, and I was there all the time. And now we've reached a time in which I've left entirely the comment section and Facebook because I could not feel the love. Because I could not feel the love. I felt something else. I felt misunderstandings. I felt judgment. Now I realize that this mechanism, this machine, has the ability, because it's so unnatural, even though we can do some good things with it, to falsely implant the psychosis in some people that they're being gang stalked by their neighbors. When in reality, it may be truly unnatural for you to have the latest iPhone in your body. Your genetics, your body could literally be producing what sounds like static in the mind, static, humming, oscillation, because of a very unnatural way of life. You could be surrounded by technologies now, smart meters, cell phone towers that none of our ancestors lived under, and your body could be having twitches. Your body could be doing this, but the internet is pointing it in false directions to create psychosis when the greater reality is you are living in a unnatural world, in unnatural cities. And certain people with certain genetics are going to start expressing certain types of symptoms. Then there's also spiritual attacks, but yes, there is such a thing as electronic harassment and other things. But you also have manufactured psychosis, where you have people walking around our societies and cities thinking that the people around them are gang stalking them just because they're behind them. I see the way people react to me. I'm afraid sometimes I come across some of these individuals that think that anyone around them that may look at them may be gang stalking them. It's like, we're humans. We're not meant to be so divided. So every now and again, I may look at you if we're in public. It could happen. We may accidentally in a small town bump into each other several times. It doesn't mean, little lady, that I'm following you. That would make no sense. But some people have also recognized me from the internet. They're like, holy shit, it's that crazy fucker Alex. He's behind me. And then I've literally seen women react like they think I'm a stalker because my car was behind them and we're leaving Walmart and we're about to turn left. And it's like, where is this fear coming from? It's like there are things that are happening to some of these people. Some people are falsely believing that they are genetically superior to others. And then so when people see people that don't look like them, and this is not limited to white supremacy, unfortunately, I am seeing it in elements of other minority groups. And it's like if we are to truly deal with racism, people of color and others will stop mistreating each other and calling each other demon face because of their physical appearances or the things that they say. But unfortunately, in this hell realm, it seems to be set up for the different perceptions of biological expression to be set against each other. We shouldn't fight each other. We should understand the evil of this world wants us to fight each other, to attack one another, and to rise above your predisposition and to evolve your genetics is to let go of that sense that you have to be hunting me or someone else. Just let that go. Let go of that program in the cells that's almost waiting to be pushed. Just let it go. Take a deep breath and let it go. Stop hunting. Now, if you're hunting animals for food, that's one thing. If you're hunting comment sections on the internet, that's digital foraging and gathering. It's a video game. Is it really necessary? As a modern man, are you at your most superior? Are you expressing your highest IQ? And so whatever your ethnicity or gender, you should try to express your highest consciousness. But there are people out there that falsely think that they're already superior, and they may sound like Beavis and Butthead. When you hear a larger demographic of society sound like Beavis and Butthead, while saying that their forms are superior, you need to pay attention to what's going down.
Steve.
Okay, so this guy comes, and this is the man that was involved in demasking Antifa, and I think that the National Demasking Campaign is a psychological operation to send people on the right after Muslim women. And after you have more of these incidents, you're going to have more problems amongst people in the streets. So I think that this whole idea of masterminding a demasking campaign is actually designed to extend beyond Antifa and protesters and to include people that are covering their face. And this is the type of thing in a nation where we do have religious freedom, where there could be friction between people over one person saying that they stand in freedom while stepping on someone else's religious freedom to cover themselves up. And they have masks. There are countless videos showing countless individuals in Patriot Prayer and Proud Boys having masks. Show me a woman that remembers OTB TV from back in the day. Somebody about my age group that I have met or haven't met. And I'll show you hope in the future of the species. Right? Continue to show me silence of the place that I literally was on the air for over 10 years, and I will show you hell. I will show you.
Where's this criminal?
You know, I'd like to see any of the texts. I want to ask a question. Does any of you up there have any text between Portland police and any Patriot Prayer member that could be deemed racist? Well, I don't know why you people are standing around here calling everybody in the place racist if there isn't any. Let's see them. Let's see them. What's the tax?
Now, the hypocrisy that both the left and the right won't like is that white supremacy does exist and it's not limited to the right. Racism doesn't exist and it's not limited to coming from white people. People don't want to hear these things. It's like if you really psychoanalyzed what I said and put it down on paper and read a book, maybe written by me, maybe there'd be less confusion. I mentioned that earlier. But it's like he says this, that's going contrary to his own bros. They're like, all these people at Antifa beat up our black friend. That's so racist. And then you guys are so, and then we have Joey Gibson and Tiny doing the same thing, and then come around and say it doesn't exist. That's, which is it? The greater reality is it does exist, and it's not limited to Donald Trump. It existed before, so it does exist on the left. People on the right are always saying that exists on the left. The people on the left are always saying that exists on the right. But both those on the left and the right will deny that exists in both. And when you have that type of psychosis, where you have literally like a split of a society, or one saying, yeah, our party is like pure, like a pure blood. We care so much, we love so much, and you people want to end the world. Aha. And then the other person says the same thing, but you people want to end the world. Aha. And they both have mediums and medias that say that script in 1,000 different ways. So there's like a whole group of people that sees one political group as a savior and the other as the devil. And it literally is duality. One is good, one's the devil. One's the devil, one's good. One's an angel, one's a demon. One's a demon, one's an angel. And everything's in this duality where you're either as I see you and I really am going to like you, or if I don't like you, you're a devil, you're a demon man. And it's like, this is the stuff that some of the people are doing to each other based on race, based on ethnicity. So the right says that the left is going to bring the end of the world, total open borders, total Muslim rape, lie, 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 lie. And then the other side is saying that the right wing, this, that, and the other. And I think that there are some that do have certain really dark intentions for an ethno state. Then there are some conservatives that don't, that just don't know any better. Just like there are people on the left that don't know any better Democrats, people that are decent people, but they don't realize that the Democrat Party is ultimately corrupt at its core. So ultimately, do we really have adults here? Or do we have children that are yelling at each other that will actually scream at someone like myself if we were to walk in the room and say, why can't we all just talk about the issues that affect us all, regardless of our religious obsessions and ethnicities and place on the planet? Why can't we just talk about the issues that matter? And instead, it almost seems as if the dialogues get worse. But that's only the perception of things. While the dialogue might seem to provoke fights and arguments, a person cannot unhear something once they've heard it. So certain things have been said so far that, and we haven't played it all here, you can watch the clip for yourself. Certain things will be said that will be on YouTube that people can thumb down and scoff at and yell at while they're there, cause a commotion. When in reality, they are going to still be affected by the news that was delivered. As they watch these videos and they feel the emotion of the people in the room and their fear, as we heard from the woman that's been doxxed and probably threatened with rape, we can see what's actually happening to just regular old Joe Jane Portlanders in this modern day and age that clearly don't look like they're hardcore left or right. They're just people that are living today. So I think it was an act of divine intervention that I got out of there. And I think that I'm the only person on the internet that's talking about Portland in this way, drawing a spotlight on it. And, for those of you that are of the spiritual side, there's healing in this. There's things you can learn, but there's positive energy that you can send through your thoughts to these people that are suffering. There are people that may be suffering in Portland that are watching me or may have been at this particular event. They can assist me with additional information as to what happened there. They can send me videos that I may consider needing to watch. They can provide some constructive feedback on the things that I hit the nail right on the head, things that may shock them, and things in which, hey, Alex, you might have a little bit wrong on this angle or element. I'm open to some feedback on that level as well.
Is anybody bothering you? Chief? Between Patriot Prayer and any officer that are racist, because these people are calling our officers racist. Okay? And we had the big old kangaroo thing downtown about how racist Joey is. Well, we got all the facts. Let's prove it. Could we please? Well, let's see the tax. Joey's got a $2,000 reward if anybody can find anything in his that.
And there was a white supremacist that would curse me in the name of 777, and I had no idea what it meant. But I've been really thinking about that since this guy was talking about, well, the older days of the rougher white supremacists would have 777 tattooed on their neck. And so it seems like there are certain numbers that certain people gravitate to that they feel will bring them luck in their endeavors. So certain numbers, certain shapes, certain symbols, that does not mean that all numbers, evils, shapes, or people are evil, but that things can be used for good or evil. But the question is, are they being used for good or evil by these dominant groups and gangs that are forming, like some of the ones that I've mentioned? Or are they being used for wicked purposes, even symbols like the diamond, things like the V or the upside down V? And there's things, folks, I'm not talking about in this video, in which I've seen a rise in the occult being used by supremacy organizations. And if you call out accurately the occult and you talk about how they do what they do around full moons, bad shit can happen. You got to be willing to risk your life. If you're even going to try to help the people of color and some white people rise above a certain mentality, I realize that a lot of people are not going to listen to me and have turned away from me. I realize that it's not actually just a conspiracy that I only have so many viewers. The world's only so big, folks. I think more of this world knows me than you might think. So it doesn't matter what I say. They'll look at oh, it's fucking Alex answering. Fuck that shit. He's crazy. He's insane. Yeah, his whole lifetime of knowledge and opinions and protests. All crazy. All insane. Because of that one thing or decision I made that I didn't let that man decide over me or that woman. So society will turn around if you don't allow other people to imprint you with their views, then they will seek to harm you. And what I'm realizing now is there are people that will develop a psychological attachment to a YouTube channel for a lifetime to stalk a YouTuber's energy, but to not once contribute to their platform. Now, I'm not just talking about those of you that like the content. I'm talking about the malevolent viewership that is there, that views for malevolent, not benevolent purposes. Now, there are some people that are a little bit of both. Multi-personality, hearing voices. One day they like, one day they don't like. As if YouTube is some sort of a burger and you rate it each day on how you like it. Instead of actually doing something with the information and wishing something positive to happen for the person that's sharing the information. How many of you right now are going to focus on something positive happening for me in this world, in my lifetime, in 2019? Because you can manifest it for me if your thoughts were to flip slightly on a geometric level astrally. And it would be less about how you feel offended or whether you like it or not, whether you're having a good moment or not, whether you like your coffee, and whether or not you're actually going to sit and wish positive things to manifest in my life so that this platform can grow and maybe even for the world to end up in a better situation. I mean, that would be awesome if we were in a place where some of us were doing a roundtable discussion and we all had video Skype, and instead of like calling each other demons and shit, we were actually doing like a discussion about how we protect ourselves. But instead, like, we're past that. We're past that. And there's a lot of people out there that don't go on a lot of our shows, small shows, because they're not big shows. In this age of the internet where everybody can have their show on a channel, it's no longer like, a big compliment to some of these people when they're contacted by some of us. It's more like, are you big enough for me to even talk to you, boy? It's like, wow, man, a lot of people are at that level. I'm not going to send out any invitations. If there's a time in which I say, hey, sure, let's do an interview, that's the moment, by the way, that you do an interview with that person. You don't wait a week. You don't wait 2 weeks. You do that interview because ultimately, when powerful humans come together, there can be evil forces that attack us in our sleep to push us back in our little worlds of isolation. And they will false flag it to the point where people may not even know that it's not someone doing witchcraft per se, but evil forces that will masquerade and literally use the mask of someone's face. So someone could be attacked, for example, in their sleep, and there could be something coming in the image of a person. And they may not realize that a demon could be falsely using the image of a person or a person's face to make it seem as if that person is using magic to come into that person's mind. This is basically what I think is happening with people that have possession issues. That they're attacked by demons that they want to, in fact, turn those people against other humans. It's remote control. So there's a certain amount of our people that are going into a zombie apocalypse mode. And this is the real reason you're going to see a lot of people try to get out of Dodge in coming years and really go off the grid. And I'm telling you, folks, there's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. The hardest way to do it, though, on one level, is to go all out by yourself. If there were groups of people that could cooperate without calling each other crazy or gaslighting each other when they share their trauma or their life experiences, that's all I've come across is judgment. But if that judgment was to be suspended and people were just simply to laugh, eat, drink, and be merry, grow food, maybe fornicate, maybe not fornicate, whatever, things could be so much more beautiful. And right now, it's not at that level. On another video, I'll come back and talk about how relationships can go through a reset if social media were to go down. If the grid were to go down, instead of just view it as the end of the world, how could there be some sort of healing between us in such a grid down situation? And so I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to try to conclude this. This is the end of this. This kind of ends with yelling.
It's okay to have different opinions. Documented by the federal government. Thanks very much. More? Right, next.
Proof it. Proof it. Proof, please. Proof.
Right.
Proof. Proof that I'm a racist. Step up.
And the guy just sounds drunk. So it's like Confrontation Central. There was some sort of scuffle right here. That's Keith Davis on the monitor there. Right? I used to talk with Keith Davis when I was in Portland.
Hey folks, this is a church.
Hey folks, this is a church, no bites. See, that's what I'm saying. So they don't respect the fact that it's a church. There is an entitlement mentality that you could still see from those people in the crowd, despite their whole anti-fascist, pro-justice thing. You need to understand that not everybody that talks about producing justice is actually doing that. A lot of people wouldn't respect the work of a guy like myself or Nellie Fuller or other people of color that are trying to contribute something to their world without attacking them for some of the things that their forefathers have done. It's like there is a time for those of us of color that are minorities to speak about the things that have been done without stepping into the anger of then calling for some sort of war internally between us. You see, we can rise above that. But some people are, but a lot of people are not. What I want to, we're going to skip through these. This individual here asks his peers to be quiet.
Derisively of the people who showed up.
You can tell that I got a memory, don't you? You know, I just watched this once, but yet my memory has cataloged the frames. It's like, I don't know that I'm living up to my highest potential in the woods if I have such a photographic memory that I'm picking up on things that average reporters don't. That's why I'm wondering, wait a minute, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. At what point will there be someone in the audience that has the financial means to contribute at a level that overnight can change my life? Or something, a job offer, someone that's actually involved in creating content in the audience that has a building, that has a place. At some point, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you put your prayers together for me. Unless we're about to see the end of the world as we know it, is it really best for people, or there really could be a zombie apocalypse to where, there really is nowhere safe other than the woods? What if there's a pandemic? What if, okay, so I realize that maybe we are at the cusp of things getting really, really bad. Then again, I ask the question, is this the time for us to be arguing with each other, calling each other names? Or should we be trying to inform people with information? Does it make sense to get so easily offended and angered at people that aren't even attacking your ethnicity, your heritage, or people that aren't even trolling you or talking to you or doing anything to you? Does it make sense to go after people that you don't have contact with, that you have a no contact with until you establish contact? And the reason I'm putting this out there is I'm saying individual actions that I believe are actually representative of a programming that is actually being sent to the entire species of humanity. I believe the entire species of humanity is being trained to use the internet to beat up people and target people and to see good people as demons and demons as good people whether you're a leftist, whether you're on the right, and representing every single ethnicity from my mother's side to my father's side in this fallen world, because my soul identifies with something higher than this that comes from the Almighty. It doesn't identify with demons fighting demons in a sport fight and then screwing afterwards when one gets the mount position. Woohoo.
So we can all get through. I'm sorry.
Woohoo!
She spoke derisively of the people who showed up to protest right now.
Good old Keith Davis. She's an older lady, and listen to her. She's like, I'm an old lady, but I'm not necessarily anti-FA. God bless her soul.
At the August 4th demonstration, counter-demonstration, and the one takeaway that I have from that is that I think the Portland police need to be able to clearly distinguish who these different groups are. My sense is there were 3 groups at that demonstration. There were the Triple P boys from out of town who had been coming to Portland a number of times already to disrupt and shine their light into the dark soul of Portland. And a lot of us Portlanders had had enough by August 4th rolling around. And so there was a popular mobilization, and 95% of the people that were coming as the counter-demonstrators were just like me. I'm 68 years old, I work, I'm a taxpayer, I have a daughter that works in Portland Public Schools, and I was tired of them coming, wasting police resources, wasting taxpayers' money.
And that's what people need to understand, is that there are old ladies and others that are anti-FA, they're just normal Portlanders. And so you see the way people talk in the comment sections, it is so vicious about the people of my home city. That's why it's heartbreaking that Portlanders don't reach out more, tell others about me. There's not a lot of people that are going to bat for the real Portland, the good Portland, that shouldn't be bombed back to the Stone Age. And I see something really bad coming. Now, this guy is speaking here.
When the police in the city's going to hire a bunch of propagandists. So we have a solution for you. How about getting rid of all politics, and how about just enforcing the law? You know, when an armed group, when a group of people
okay.
That's a crime.
Yeah, buddy. And then we go forward to here, and here we go. Haley Adams. So that's Haley Adams, Joey Gibson ally, female spokesperson for the Portland branch of her own group. It's called PDX Crew. We'll leave it at that. It gets pretty deep. Do your own research. So she uses her gender and her looks, and I don't know who these guys are, skinheads, but she's not alone in doing that. People on the left do that too. So I don't know if that resulted in fisticuffs.
Well, that's why you can't have one group talking to the police, because civility is dead. It is dead. We can't be reasonable anymore. We can't be reasonable anymore.
You're here. We can continue.
Now that looks like James Evan Pilato looking extra hipster-fied, no offense intended. You just walked by, old ally of Alex Ansary in brief. I didn't have a whole lot of allies in Portland. My stuff was just too far out there. And then, also at some point people realize, well, I can be a conspiracy theorist too. Oh, we can all do it. But it's not about competition. It's about also realizing some people that got it early and have a little bit of respect. There is no competition. That's a fucking lie. Yeah, I'm going to compete with myself to see how fast I can run outside and turn on the generator. But it doesn't mean anything, but I can still compete against myself. Let's hear an elder woman. See, this is some elder truth.
In the state of Washington, on small modular reactors created at Corvallis.
This is what's real. Pollution, nuclear waste, homelessness, folks. She's trying to wake these kids up.
We have international criminals have access.
Don't you understand? Kids that just became protesters. This is big shit. What's going on? You guys are yelling.
People in India with a gas explosion and walked away. Here we are discussing ethics, and our treasurer has made our Bull Run water so expensive Without the
Their
public's
water's bad.
knowledge,
That's why the people go
for
nuts.
2 years of secret
Lead in the
meetings,
pipes. I was
that,
calling lead in the pipes intuitively, and then all of a sudden it broke out in the news. There's a bunch of lead in the pipes, and it's like nobody's like keeping track of the Alex Ansary statements, cause and effect 10 years later. Alex Ansary 10 years ago, the world 10 years later. Alex Ansary 10 years ago, the world 10 years later. I mean, at some point you need to get a ruler. At some point, and that's why I'm looking for volunteers. We're looking for our very first volunteer of volunteers this year to help me catalog my life of work, to be able to work with us as an editor, to help in editing certain things, to help in collecting transcripts from key videos, to helping create a book out of some of the most important rants that have been put out on YouTube. Alex Ansary, is looking for a responsible audience member, probably someone that I've shared information with, or I have talked to, or is really at the level and they mean it. They really know how to follow through, and not just being the moment of the marijuana and or the alcohol, the cigarette working out for you at that, but to really truly mean it and to follow through. Because I kid you not, there is literally an encyclopedia worth that can come out of the videos that I've spoken into form. Now the work begins, or should, to take the great work of words in free flow, to take the very best of the best and to put that into an encyclopedia. I'm looking for that man or woman that has the time, that has the mission, that has the drive. And we may not even be ready to fully do this for maybe, a few years. We probably should do it before, the grid goes down. But there's something within me. It's like a heartbeat. That's what it is. That's that thing inside my chest. Damn, I thought it was an android. But it's like the written word, Alex. The written word, Alex. You become addicted to even uploading to YouTube. Pull back, Alex. 1 time per day, max, Alex. Start focusing on the larger tapestry of the written word. And then it's going to be a goal of mine to try to maybe scale down to 1 video a day, pull my energy back, and then get back into meditation, getting back into exercise, getting back into looking at the sky outside. I'm like naturally existing off my body heat. I'm surrounded by snow. It literally is creating more warmth for my tiny home. If you ever look at a survival manual, there is a survival tip of creating a burrow underground in snow. You see, protects you from the cold, a little bit of insulation. So it's literally warmer right now with snow completely covering my tiny home as opposed to there being snow around my tiny home. So it's like I'm tapping into something powerful. And if we're wasting our energy being defensive, fighting others, certain things, then it's stuck energy. Let's be transparent with everything. That's why I need to be transparent with you with how I see the world responding to my information. Do I see people speaking positively of me on larger and larger channels, trying to educate other people about this tapestry of knowledge that exists on this channel? Or do I feel that I'm so easily marginalized, maybe even more so now than ever before? And the answer is yes. And I think that those of you that may generally be having a spiritual experience, not just binge watching YouTube, not just viewing me as entertainment or something that you're getting energy from, but people that are actually a step above, next level in content creation, in it being beyond your cell phone, in being actually able to use a website, being able to type, being able to process complex thoughts, being able to write essay papers. There's got to be people, and maybe I alienate people that are a certain level of intelligence because their belief systems may be different, but there may be a super brain kid that's in the audience that, just doesn't have anything to do all summer, and he literally wants to assist in something. So at some point, folks, we can do a lot to educate people with a team. And I also think a lot of my information will live on after I'm gone, whenever that is. May those that curse me understand that they are engaged in black magic, and that's not the way to spend our last few years on the internet while we still have a grid. We don't want to be spending the last few moments while we're alive cursing each other. We want to be assisting each other and giving each other advice that could potentially help us evolve beyond the prison planet.
And I've got the evidence. When I go to testify,
all elder people have evidence to everything in Portland.
Recently, but we are now under
I've been there, folks.
an avalanche of potential radiation. You are all responsible for our health and safety. That old nuclear plant, Westinghouse design, faulty design. How many horrible crises that we've seen in the world
And that's classic in Portland, though. Come in for a meeting and totally just change the topic to your thing. I mean, that is so
You're
Portland.
already seeing all the
Nuclear
changes
waste!
in Portland. And you want yelling like crazy and saying this
Chemtrails!
is over with, close it. We have a
5G!
leader, we have all the answers, we have Robert
It's
McCullough.
like, yeah, but we're like talking about like an argument over here. But is it all tied together? Yes, Alex Ansary says. Yes, Alex Ansary says. From the cell phones to the chemtrails to the nuclear waste to the people fighting in the streets over nothing. At least they can at least fornicate afterwards. At least in the night with a happy ending. And without a doubt, there are some people that literally will end it with a happy ending after fighting each other on opposite political lines because they're just that free, yo. And then others, they'll still be sexually frustrated and angry as a result. And you know, a lot of things is a result of the people getting laid and the people not getting laid, and then people having a beef about it. And then ultimately, you know, people not controlling their sexual urges and people allowing themselves to be a victim if they're not getting some. You know, and this world doesn't even have the intelligence to define the modern digital monks that have gone their own way. They would rather label them an incel. They would label pick on them. Oh, let's pick on this man over here. Oh, let's call him crazy. Oh, because he's the only man that actually bothered to talk about relationships that also has a tapestry of knowledge of other things. You know what confuses me? These MGTOW individuals that do nothing but beat up women in their videos. And what gets me is these women that find my content and don't understand how different I am. And how, like, I'm not that label. Just because I made a few videos, I'm not China. I'm not Oregon. I'm not Arkansas. I'm not New Mexico. I'm not off grid. I'm not Bear Gorillas. I'm Alex Ansary. I may happen to live off grid. I may happen to have literally gone my own way. I may actually happen to talk about China. I may actually happen to talk about the sun, but I'm not the sun. I'm not a sun worshiper. But I don't necessarily see that as completely bad if the sun is connected with the Almighty. I think that religious arguments are getting frightening, and I think people need to really tone this down a notch. Tone it down now. Simmer down now. Simmer down now. And I think that with 5G, you're going to have a lot more people experiencing the psychosis that are actually on the computer all day around these technologies. I'm concerned that we're going to see some extreme perceptionary disorders manifesting. It already is. I'm talking about it getting to a level to where like everything just comes undone. And when you realize that all these people have smartphones and they have them and they're holding them next to their body and these things are going on, like they're being affected by these really crazy artificial energies while the sun and the moon are super active and they're not connecting the dots. And so when you have a species that can't connect the dots and know when it's having issues like psychosis and talking in the heads and certain frequencies, if they're not able to, how can they heal themselves then? How will they not then just get online, stay online, then attack someone as they literally become a cyborg reptilian? And it's like, that's what we've become. People hiding their humanity, hiding their eyes, hiding who they are, like living in this virtual world. And the virtual world is sucking what soul they may have or life essence in some degree, unless the technology that they're using is being used for the most high on their channel. So in the end, right, it's not so much YouTube that's the issue. It's what are we doing on YouTube? What are we saying to others? Are we bullying others on YouTube? Are we trying to help people go beyond the matrix? What is the purpose behind our existence here on YouTube? What is the specific truth that we're sharing? Is that our truth? Is that someone else's truth? Or is that someone else's truth that we feel is our truth and we're paraphrasing that truth? Then what is that really? Why do we believe what we believe? And can you also do that on pen and paper? Why do you believe what you believe? If you were given in a prison cell in a certain amount of time, a 100-page notebook, like what's commonly sold at Walmart for 99 cents, what would be your truth as to what type of reality we're in? Is it not a fallen world? Is this really the enlightened world? Really? How does this work out? If it's really the enlightened world, are you saying that there are no problems? If you are saying there are problems, what are they? What do you think of the solutions? Who do you think is to blame for the problems? All those questions and more can you answer in your own words. What is the supernatural? What do you think the archons are? How do the Archons use social media and computers as a transport to possess susceptible viewers, to go after other YouTubers that are actually a part of the wake up process? Can you articulate that? Can you write that from more than 20 pages? I am now.
Community with all the electricity you would ever dream of. And instead, we can't even bring down our pricing because we have one puppet, the coal magnate, who owns the state of Wyoming, selling us coal-powered electricity through Pacific Corp. In California, is now
Right. Oh, she's dropping truth on him. You guys are buying your power back. You guys are buying your power back.
We have so many costs. People can't pay their homeowner taxes.
Can't pay the taxes. All people being homeless. Portland born, Portland native. Wake up, America.
Let's face the real problems. Let's keep marching.
Let's face the real problems. You see? That's an intelligent activist that's been around for years that's seen this bullshit. She's like dropping some truth. Let's focus on the real problems.
Mark salivates.
August 4th.
American elementary school children carrying a banner.
We're watching you, and other candidates are looking real nice right now. So get it together. Stop killing our people. Stop killing people that didn't do anything, and call these white supremacists what they are, and get them out of our city.
Fight the racist scabs of the police union and to abolish the scabs.
That's fine. That's fine. But I want to thank you for your time.
That's
Thanks
Chief Outlaw.
for coming. I'm not going to try to speak over you.
What about the actual Nazis on Portland Police Bureau?
That's Mike Smith. That's Mike Bluehair.
What about your
If you only...
And then another channel said that he was Antifa, and he says he doesn't associate with Antifa. He's kind of in the middle, more anarchist. But the right is labeling Mike Smith, just so you know, as Antifa, so he will be attacked as well. He was also called Patriot Prayer by Antifa themselves. And so Antifa and Patriot Prayer / Proud Boys, or those that are sympathetic to them, or maybe people that are just not very educated. But one person uploaded a video saying Antifa shuts down meeting. This is at the end of the meeting. Mike Smith is in Antifa, and he edits out the part where Mike Bluehair mentions Mark Kruger. It was edited to make him sound kind of like a lunatic without, well, Mike Bluehair kind of does that well on his own. I mean, I'm just being honest.
I'm not going to try to speak over you.
And you see, Mike Bluehair doesn't have a whole lot of people applauding his attempts to call out the neo-Nazi police chief or commander or officer known as Mark Kruger. And sometimes it really is in your reputation. It really is in certain things why some people won't be a part of that vocal yay. And it's not always a result of that person doing something wrong. Sometimes, whether you or me, we may say that unpopular thing, and a whole world of people could just completely ignore us because they're too busy making noise.
You wanted to be birthday, but that's it. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, so I really hope you appreciated this presentation. We're going to work on a video a day, and I will be uploading soon the best of OTB TV. We're even going to go back to my 2005 interview with David Icke when I first got started, and YouTube wasn't around. And back in those days, doing a live interview across the sea, 3 o'clock his time, it was like 7 o'clock at night our time. It was an amazing thing for me, and there wasn't an oversaturation of information. It was a lot scarier to be a truther then as well. It was almost a time in which there was hope for the future. Not to say that we've lost it all, but there definitely needs to be a resurgence in love, in respect, elements of the audience, making sure that my message does exist. That this is not just for you or your entertainment. You're not attacked when I tell you that. There is a sense of longing for a type of online community that would assist me in my progress and would help me to move things forward. A longing for a content creator / audience experience that seemed like it was a part of moving something forward, not just simply some sort of therapy, one-on-one, deprogramming, and then trying to soften the language for you so that you didn't take offense. This type of stuff is almost like an unnecessary distraction that we need to think tank about outside the YouTube box. How YouTube itself specifically is not the best medium for dosing people with the truth about the supernatural or the archons, because they're here and they're living in the machine and they're flying in and out of the screens through people, and those people are getting the kind of voice in the head to target innocent people that have never attacked them once. We now live in a reality, a planet that seems to be a more dangerous climate. After that dream of that 38 caliber snub being pointed at me last night, I feel like something within me is waking up. And it's not going to shrug off the things that I'm feeling. I'm going to let you know the things that I'm feeling. I'm going to let you know my honest opinion, and that these are not good signs for a online community, or that I've created one. And it's signs that things may have to dramatically change at any given point from now on into the future without announcement. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. And during these moments in which we have this supermoon energy coming in and our intuition is activated and we're starting to tap into things, practice expressing your truth in a private manner. Start a journal. Maintain a spiritual journal. Even Astro from Reprogram the Matrix has a video in which he's advising you to start a spiritual journal. Because any truth that you believe that you have, and any divination that you're working with, or any form or any system, you should be able to communicate that. You may start for years speaking in a way in which, or to people online, you can't speak to people at home. But you may be so passionate about that truth that you may keep going and going and going. And you may even do a little something like me, to where you feel almost burnt out speaking and speaking and speaking and seeing people misunderstand what was said. What has to be done is things have to then be put into writing. What does one mean by XYZ? What does one mean when one says this? What is a expression of slavery? How do we see forms of discrimination all throughout the planet without just blaming it on one group? Even if the whole nation is talking like that, like it's all about this and it's all about that, well, then how does the media, for example, play their role in creating fear of certain people without just blaming it on the right? How did CNN, Fox News, Alex Jones, and networks help create far right extremism through their official stories about those events that got us in these wars? That's certainly something that we can say about the mainstream media. That's certainly something that we could say about the YouTube algorithm that will bury me if I even say the name of a nation that is pillaged. So not only in that nation do people die, but that lithium is mined so that we can have these cell phones, so that people can use their digital devices to bully people online with minerals that literally come from the nation that they're bombing back to the Stone Age. So I can go on and on and on because I feel like a volcano of truth. But in a world where our thoughts do affect our reality, we want to be focused on things moving forward for us and accomplishing our dreams, realizing our goals, and not allowing some of the civil unrest that's taking place to divide us. But we can take a look like this at this particular video, and we can take a look at the particular dynamics, and we can take a look at the divide, but we can also take a look at the truth that's being shared, the synchronicity that's taking place. There may be things that are being said in these videos, whatever side you're on, that you are strongly in agreement with. And maybe there's a reason why there seems to be people that are having these collective wake ups to certain types of truths. And we need to think about that. And we need to think about how we can harness the power of our consciousness, and how we can harness the power of technology and internet access and use it in the most evolved manner in the next chapter of our lives. Okay, so what do we use the internet for? Is it just used for pleasure, targeting people, or looking for threats about things that may happen to our community? Threat analysis mode, right? How do we evolve beyond the root chakra or reptilianism as a species, the lower world? How do we evolve beyond the fight or flight? How do we evolve beyond being affected by the negative energies of such a medium? How do we evolve beyond a world where we're fascinated by the instantaneous communication, but we don't let it completely live our lives or live in technology? How do we then take the best of online interconnectedness and the best of what these videos can do for us in order to share our own truth, and then to step away from the negative elements that are on the internet and influences and ways that others use it and use the internet to affect us and our energies and thus to influence others. How do we step away from the negative energy that is out there in this world and step into something that is much more beautiful? I'm Alex Hansen, reminding you that the path to the ultimate truth and place of power still lies within.